Welcome to the Terry Talks. I'm your host, Terry Brown, and I'll be talking on Tuesdays with real people about real challenges and solutions in real estate investing.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This is Sharon sitting in tonight. Terry is out doing Terry things. Terry is out Terry talking and out making connections for everybody. But I wanted to get started tonight promptly because y'all know how I am. I'm going to keep it nice and short and sweet. But welcome back. We hope that y'all have had a fabulous day wherever it is that you are, wherever this finds you. You all know that our primary goal and our intent is to provide value for you all so that you all can take your dreams and make them a reality with regards to your businesses, with regard to your endeavors, and that our intention here is that we always get 1% better every day. So, with that being said, we're going to just take care of a couple of little housekeeping things. Y'all, I'm tired. I'm sleep deprived. It has been a very, very busy weekend. But tonight, I'm really excited about having my sister and my friend with us tonight. Our topic that we're going to be discussing, as you all know, we've been talking last week about all things legal, about your business, about entity structure, and about all of the things that go along with setting your business up so that you can run it successfully. Because a lot of us are very good at what we do, but we don't necessarily have the business side together. And so that was the reason why we had Pam Harrigan Young with us last week. It was amazing. She gave us a lot of nuggets and shared a lot of really good information. But I feel that tonight is going to be equally as amazing because we've got my sister and my friend, the Crews Bristow. Now, we go way back. I'm not going to tell you how far back we go. Well, yes, I am, because this is my line sister, y'all. Yes, I don't want another devastating Delta woman in to help give you all some insight on what we like to talk about over here. And you all know the reason why we do this. We do this because there is an absolute need for it right now. And the economy is shaking like no one would have ever thought, before. And people are losing jobs and the like, and we don't operate out of fear, right? But you have to have a plan, and you have to be able to if you don't know the way, then somebody has to show you. There's a scripture that says, how can they be taught unless they have a teacher, right? Everyone here has the benefit of the same information so that we can walk together in agreement and move towards our goals of financial freedom and building a legacy for our children and our children's children. So tonight we're going to get started, and we're going to be talking about business ownership versus solopreneurship. And we have, as I said before, my friend and my sister, Arethea, here. Arethea, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Good. We're glad to have you here. So I know that, we have had a little bit of conversation coming into this tonight about what we're going to talk about. Whatever is on your heart to share with regard to this topic, we are absolutely going to yield to that because we know that you are the one that's bringing the value in this topic tonight. And so if you will, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and tell them a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure. Arethea Bristow. I have been working in corporate America and doing entrepreneurship for the last probably 15, 16 years. Most of my experience is in corporate America. However, I didn't want to just lean on that W-2 check for the rest of my life. I wanted to build something on my own. And my father had always been like a semi-real estate investor. So one of my first things was to try to get into real estate. I bought 2 homes when I was like 21. That's when, it didn't matter about your mortgages, and I always had kind of decent credit, so it didn't matter. So I wanted to rent, but then I kind of sort of fell in love. I guess you call it, got married the first time, and decided to just focus on just the regular job. But then I got to Charlotte, decided, hey, I really wanted to want to do some consulting work, plus really look at some franchises. And I studied franchises for a long time. Then I kind of focused on just one type of franchise, which is education. So I looked at both Kumon, Mathnasium, Huntington, all of them, every last one of the franchisees. Some they were, and then other people wanted me to try to build my own. But once I tried to think about building my own, it was too much to build the infrastructure, to come up with the materials, to have some really legitimate conversations with parents on why they should be with me versus someone else. So I went with Mathnasium. Math is one of my strong suits. Been a math girl for years. My son was also a little genius at like 8, 9 years old. So I was like, hey, if I could teach him, I could teach anybody. But the thing about the business was I had to learn like the system. They had a system that you learned and you operated. You didn't have to figure out what you were doing for marketing. You didn't have to think about how you're going to assess a child. You have to think about how to score them and what materials to give them. It was a system that was built to do that. However, there were some things I had to do myself, which is find the facility, find the location, do the research about what that market could handle, whether it was going to be profitable or not. But my goal at that time was to have multiple locations in the same city because I had a mentor. She was in Raleigh-Durham area. She actually had like 4. So I went there quite a bit during my early kind of couple months to kind of understand how she set up the multiple locations. But then I wanted to say, okay, let me focus on this one location and get that going. Then I'll go to another. I never got the other going, but I learned a lot. One, I did have lots of employees. I had part-time employees, one full-time employee, a marketing person, a PR person, someone who actually cleaned the facility when we left and straightened things up and things like that, so that it wasn't all on me. But it was oftentimes I had to step in and serve, meaning be at the front desk or be there to greet certain parents, because at one point the community wanted me to partner with community groups. So I partnered with 100 Black men, and they sent like 45 of their students to me, and they paid for those students. So I had to actually do something extra for them, which is to go to their meetings like once a quarter, give them the progress, actually kind of did something different just to give back to them and their program. But the other thing was just the amount of feedback you got, and you learned a lot about really parents, adults, and how different parenting styles either work or don't work for children. Children actually learned to trust me, learned to trust my staff, and we were diverse. I had Indians, Caucasians, Asians, from every race. I had low income, high income. It was very diverse because this neighborhood is very diverse where I live. But the other thing about it was just keeping the hiring going, like hiring good people. And good people could be students, college students, or adults who wanted to work part-time, or part-time teachers or retired teachers. But even them, no one really wanted to work every day. So you had to come up with a schedule that worked with everybody else. And that sometimes it helped, sometimes it didn't. Oftentimes I get a call at 5:36, say, hey, Aretha, such and such got sick. Can you come in and fill in for, and I had to teach. I was like, that's fine. I could do that. So that was one of the big things. My goal was to actually generate at least like $80,000 a year from that one. Then the next one generate like a 90,000. The next one, so I could kind of use some of the same techniques across. However, I got to a point where I was generating about 75,000. However, that was for like 9 months to 11 months of income. That still wasn't enough income for me to stop what I was doing. I started another business 2 years earlier, which is consulting. And that actually helped me like earn the money I need to earn for the lifestyle I wanted. And I traveled quite a bit with that. So I didn't have to worry about whether I had enough income back and forth. Yeah, so that's how I got to where I am with. I only did the franchise for like 5.5, 6 years.
Okay.
Then after that, I focused more on my consulting work because I was starting to get clients who were willing to continue to pay me a large fee for servicing them. So I decided just to stop doing franchise work and Mathnasium and only do my consulting work, which is what I do now.
Okay, great. So I know that you shared that you were like, you were married the first time and you were, working. You bought a couple of properties, and then it was kind of like you just kind of fell into the 9 to 5 rat race type situation. But at what point did you really realize that you really didn't want to continue to do that anymore?
It was when I didn't have control over what I did next. So I was one where I wanted to decide where I wanted to go next in corporate America, be it at the same position or another position. But because of the level I was hired in at Bank of America, I had no choice in where I went next. They told me where I was going next. I didn't apply for the job. They just put you in a new job. They just move you without any your input, your say. It's like, you were their puppet. And I'm like, and I bought into all of the representing them from a Black woman, representing them from a executive, doing mentoring programs with them. I mean, I worked tons of hours, still got very nice bonuses, yet I felt just unfulfilled. I was just I don't know, a checker in their check, their game. And I didn't want to continue to be in that, because I knew I could generate enough money to be satisfied for me outside of them. And so that's what I did. So while I was still working for Bank of America, I started that consulting business, which was in 2007. I was still working with Bank of America as an employee. So I was trying to get my own clients while I was still, and I finally left Bank of America in 2009, and then did the consulting business, then opened up the Mathnasium business, focused on Mathnasium for like 6 months, let that get up to speed and dedicated my time and effort. Then I went back to consulting. So my consulting gigs, like I would get paid $250 an hour, $300 an hour. It just kind of ranged. So that was enough income for me, at least if I earned that in like a 6 month time frame. But then I'd had to work for 6 months. So I kind of did that back and forth. A couple times I kind of stretched myself really thin where things overlapped. That's when I really started to get tired, or just had to really just take some time off from like both Mathnasium and just to kind of refresh and re-energize. But it was good tiredness. I felt good about what I was doing, what I was controlling, who I was really helping, the parents that were being so appreciative. A lot of those parents are still good friends of mine today. People I didn't know before, that I met more people in the neighborhoods, partnered with different schools, some teachers that always wanted me to come back, because I volunteered in schools as well, as a way of one, understanding kind of what they were doing, that I could help them kind of do better or different. Because I was one of those kids in school where my teacher would teach math, but she would still teach it the hard way. And I would just jump up and say, hey, really, it's like this. And so I would teach it. She's like, I would get kicked out the classroom for teaching other people. So I knew different ways to teach people in a way that made it fun and interesting, and still kind of got to the end. So that's what I really wanted to do. That's what I wanted to dedicate my life towards.
Wow. Now, I've known you for a long time, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I did not know that.
I even did it at A&T. The math teacher, I forgot her name, she kicked me out the classroom because I taught a different way than she did. And I taught the students, that was, I think it was my freshman year. And so I didn't go back. Later on, I understood that same teacher was my mother's classmate. And she told me, oh, she wasn't that good in math anyway. I said, oh, okay.
I was going to ask you if it was Dr. Manuel, but if you said she wasn't that good in math, it definitely wasn't her.
Yeah, it was me.
No, and Dr. Manuel. Wow. So, okay. So you shared with us about, you've done the systematized business, and then you are kind of operating as a solopreneur in your contracting business, right? So what are the differences between the mindsets of the two? Because the one thing that I could tell that drives you in all of it was, you didn't want to be punching anybody else's clock.
Right.
You didn't want to be told when you could come, you can go, when you could eat, when you could sleep, pretty much when you work for a corporation, they have that level of, I don't want to say control, but they definitely have a level of influence, because it comes down to, you're going to either do it our way, you want to hit the highway, right? Yeah. So what was one of the biggest mindset shifts that you had to make? That I too have a business, and that I'm also working full time. And one of the things I'm experiencing is that I'm becoming more uncomfortable in the comfort of having a 9 to 5. So it's not really, it's comfortable, but it isn't comfortable, because I can't just pick up and go. We don't really measure wealth in money. You measure it in time. So what were two of the biggest mindset differences that you think, or shifts that you feel like you had to make between each of them? Because it sounds like that some of this was going on concurrently.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. First, at one point, I didn't care whether Bank of America knew I had another business or not. And so I told people about both my businesses while I was at Bank of America, so that one, I would know who was going to support me, whether I was Bank of America or not. And I learned so much that because I was so authentic in my corporate job, people were authentic with me. I got very little pushback from the things I was doing. Because for one, I've always been a worker, a hard worker. I've always I don't get up too early in the morning, but I will work late at night. I mean, there were times for any of my business, I would stay up 24 hours just to make sure what I was doing, my presentation was tight. I would practice what I needed to say. I would actually, go over things 3 and 4,000 times, dot my I's, cross my T's, just to be sure that my work was still high quality, be it the corporate job or my entrepreneurial work. The other
Mhm.
thing about the mindset shift was you have to be willing to just be comfortable being uncomfortable and take risk. And because if you don't take any risk, you never get any reward. So I took a bunch of risk. The one thing I didn't like about some of the entrepreneurship was some of the all the taxes that come out of your business, paying corporate taxes plus social security taxes plus unemployment taxes plus state, it's just all the taxes. I mean, I had a great person doing my bookkeeping and accounting, but when I looked at it, like, look, oh wow, I could have hired like 2 more people for the price I have to pay for this, all these taxes. And taxes just, for one, I hate the tax. I hate the IRS. I hate North Carolina Department of Revenue. They always challenge entrepreneurs, especially when you accumulate enough money. They want to kind of come after you for. They want to go through your tax return, and they say, "Oh, we just randomly sample you." I'm like, really? It's just kind of odd the way they just can't let people thrive, especially when you're giving so much of your time and energy away that you don't get compensated for. So yeah. But that was one of the biggest shifts is the networking with the people I knew. And in my consulting work, people
Mhm.
actually knew other people in other companies. And I consulted back with the company I worked for. So they got something out of it as well as far as the support I get. So I didn't totally leave what I call financial services. I just stayed on the outside and didn't want to be an employee with them anymore because I knew that you didn't have control of your career. You have to actually go where they want you to go, whether you wanted to or not. Oftentimes, they would actually put you in positions, which they put me in positions where my peers, I was first, I had a bunch of peers, then all my peers reported to me. And that was just interesting. So that's where I learned to how do you actually still lead people who are used to being your peer when they're very uncomfortable with that new situation. But that's when I actually left, maybe about 6 months after that. So they didn't work for me for long, but long enough for me to see the frustration they had with now they report to me versus we all reported to the same leader.
That may speak to the reason why a lot of times people don't promote from within because of that. And so they pull people from the outside. And even though you might have somebody that's highly qualified for the role that's internal, but because they feel like there's going to be some conflict there with that, with people being too familiar and familiarity breeding contempt, and then it just creating a problem for that. But that was really interesting. Again, I'm learning more about your career path, this evening than I think, because I don't think we ever really just sit around talking about, we talk about other stuff. So okay, so you made a comment about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. So it's kind of like what I said a few weeks back, like choose your hard. You're going to be either comfortable with being uncomfortable with somebody telling you what to do, or you're going to be uncomfortable with somebody always telling you what to do, or you're going to be uncomfortable with trying something new that you've never done before and launching out and everything not being in place, like you're building the plane while you're flying, right? At some point in time, you should be able to land the plane, right? But you still have to kind of build things up while you are going. I think one of the common misconceptions about business ownership or entrepreneurship in general is that it's so glamorous. I think you have already started to dispel that, right? It is so glamorous because people don't see that it's kind of like an iceberg. Because, like you said, I would be up 24 hours, so they don't see all the work that you're doing behind the scenes to establish your own system, even in your consulting business, so that the part that's on the top can just show through, which is the actual performance of the contract. So now that you what I think is interesting is that you've kind of gone from being a business owner and having a system to kind of being a solopreneur. What does a typical day look like for you?
When I was a business owner, like owning the
Yeah,
franchise.
versus the other.
Okay. Well, the business itself, it was probably open from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 7 o'clock at night. But I would be, even when I wasn't present physically there, I would always look at the results or who came in the day before. I would monitor all emails that go in and out. I would partner with other franchise owner. There's a couple here in Charlotte. There's better ones down in the Raleigh Durham area. So that's one of the things I really did a lot of is reaching out to them during the morning hours so that I could actually at least be available in the afternoon. So that's what I spend the most of my time doing, and just trying to research like what can I do differently to like generate more income without sacrificing quality. So
Mhm.
that profit loss was really a big thing with me. I mean, I had tons and tons of models of what I could do differently, which marketing I had my all my marketing kind of measured and what returns I got. I made sure people gave me like, how did you come in and how did you find me? What did you see? How did that work? Because I did TV programs, I was in magazines. I did a lot to really invest in really making sure people knew about, my Mathnasium, North Charlotte, Mathnasium, North Charlotte is what it was called. So just being prepared for interviews and taking questions, because we did free assessments. So I did a lot of them myself so I can actually talk to the parents, talk to the child independently together to really see what I could do differently to help that child succeed, because every person was different and unique. And that was the value prop I gave them is I'm not going to just give you a cookie cutter math program. You're not going to just do worksheets, or you're not just going to go with chapter 1 and go to chapter 2 to go to chapter 3. No, we're going to work with you. We're going to work with your teacher too. We're going to understand what you learn in the classrooms. All that stuff with the teachers in the classroom, the emails. That's what I did in the morning, and I've known with the learning with the people. I had to train my staff. We did have to go to Mathnasium is headquartered out of California, so I went to California a couple times. We had conferences, so I had to go to conferences. So that was money out the pocket to go to the conferences. I would bring my staff, maybe 1 or 2 people to part of the conference here and there. Or I think one year I sent both the people and I stayed back. So you have to kind of balance because you want your staff to also grow and feel like they're a part of what was happening versus only treating them as a robot or somebody I paid. So I was able to just, share in all the other extra things that happened so they could actually grow themselves.
So you were sharing the responsibility across
Mhm.
the departments or the team
Mhm.
members, I should say,
Yeah.
that would have other roles. So now that you're a solopreneur and you're wearing all the hats, right? So how do you manage all of the roles in your business?
Oh, so currently, well, I'm trying to actually scale the business. So right now, oftentimes when I go from one engagement to another, they often cross. So that becomes very cantankerous. But all the positions of consultants I do, I'm sure that I control the calendar. I control the flow. I don't like jump at even my best clients' ask or whim. I
Mhm,
said, I'll consider it. Let me think about it. I said, I probably can get it done maybe in 3 weeks, but I knew I could do it in a week, but I
mhm,
don't know what the next 3 weeks will look like. So I'd rather them not anticipate getting something immediately and train them. So you have to train people how to treat you, even in business. We train people how to treat us personally, our husbands, our children. We also have to train the people that work for us or compensate us for our skills and abilities. So I spend a lot of time just making sure to be firm with what my boundaries were and what I would do, what I wouldn't do.
mhm.
My extra time that I invested in me was just what I wanted to do because I'm just a hard worker. I always want to be better than I was, yesterday than today. I kind of always had that mind of what can I do better tomorrow? What I don't do good at all is this working out thing. I just can't do that working out thing well. But the rest of it, I can eat good. I can have good relationships. I can thank God and go to church and go to workshops and get massages. But the whole working out, I just ain't there yet with the working out.
Me neither. So we gonna get better together on that, right? We're gonna get better together on that. So okay, that's
Oh, the other thing I want to say is, so my consulting business, I still go back to my corporate relationships.
okay.
So they have really invested in me. I actually still reach out to people every 3 or 4 months, even if there's nothing going on. I just reach out and say, "Hey, how you doing?" I used to ask to kind of meet for coffee. COVID kind of presented a different dynamic where people all just say, "Oh, let's meet on Zoom or Teams." So I like to just stay in contact with people, even if I can't work with them on a project, but I would still stay in contact with what is going on and where they are, what opportunities it present, like what other companies that I may compete with are there. Why did you go with them versus me? I learned the hard way that in order to get some of the bigger deals, you have to have a lot more insurance. So I
Mhm,
had business insurance, but I
mhm.
didn't have like $10 million worth of insurance because that was like a $2,500 a month insurance check, and I was like, I didn't want to invest that type of money in that. So oftentimes I would be a subcontractor to a bigger contract.
Okay.
And that worked for me, and it still does. But right now, some of our line sisters who are in the federal government, we've been talking for like 10 years of how we can build something that we can share back with undergrads in the HBCUs so that they would actually get some work experience and get some coaching as a part of their experience. Work for 3 or 4 months with this company as a contractor, and then you can actually go and be a full-time employee or stay as a contractor and help them like learn financial management skills, how to manage your money, how to put things to the side, how do you come up with this emergency cash fund, and what techniques can you use to actually invest that's safe, what to and actually share, be transparent. Like a lot of times we're not transparent about how much do you really make, how much taxes are you really paying, how much does the house really cost, how do you afford to pay for it, what do you do? So I actually had those hard conversations with different people that I did bring into the consulting business to like partner with me to do work. Yeah.
So you just mentioned that you were looking to start scaling this. So what were some of the signs for you that it was time for you to do that, even as a solopreneur?
The people I was working with, Aretha, do you know anybody else that can help me in this other area? I don't want you to go there because I want you to stay where you are if you can. I wish I could duplicate you. So that's when I knew. I said, no, I'm not duplicatable for sure. And I'm not willing to work. I make sure people know I'm not willing to work 80 hours. Like I'm not willing to do like 2 and 3 people's jobs. I'm not willing to do that. So I push back a lot and trying to do what I'm here to do, but add a little something every so often, but not consistently so that it's not an expectation. Like give people bonus Aretha versus just the regular one.
Oh, okay. The bonus Aretha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So scaling, what we were trying to do is different people have their own kind of corporation. So we were going to partner together, create a different one, and each corporation owns different parts or a piece, like 5 companies, everybody owns 20%. And I was the most freedom person. So I would maybe get 30% or 40%. And then I would actually bid on jobs.
Okay.
And they would be like silent in the whole transaction. Like, so, because like quite a few of them work for either state government or federal government, and they really couldn't double dip. And so we come up with a way to kind of build a business model that worked for us. We were close to it right before Trump, and then,
I know, girl.
So now we're just trying to kind of get all our ducks in a row. Everybody's trying to get like their business credit up to speed, getting lines of credit kind of available so that when we start 4 years from now and bidding, we don't have to deplete our own personal money, because oftentimes that's one of the biggest hurdles. Even with Mathnasium, I regret that I didn't use any kind of lines of credit. I used my own personal money. So I used most of my personal money and kind of transferred my K into something other like another account that I could use it for my business. So I did that. Yeah. So that's where we are now. Everybody's working on building their personal business lines of credit, getting all the different credit bureaus for the business to like recognize you, getting a business credit card, keeping that for a little while, asking for a line of credit, using maybe $1,000 of it, kind of doing a little something so that when we're ready, we have at least each of us like $200,000 of available business credit to actually do what we want to do. Yeah. Which we're trying to like make sure we have enough cash flow so that once we win a deal, we'll get paid up front and then we kind of pay our credit lines back and then kind of move that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it kind of reminds me of something that my daughter says to me often. If you want to go far, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Yeah, take people with you. I'm glad to hear that some of our online sisters are teaming up with you about that. So, doing this, of course, you can always run into burnout and you can lose momentum. How is it that what is motivating you right now in continuing to move forward and building this with them?
Probably because we spent years raising our children, and now we're at a point of our lives where we have semi extra time and still want to be able to live comfortable lives and get rid of all our personal debt, be it your mortgage, cars, or whatever. So this is the best way to do it is while you're still young, you're healthy, continue to do that. Because I forgot to mention, I also I'm a licensed life insurance agent, long-term care insurance, and I did that as a business too. And I still do it. I'm still licensed, but I don't actively practice licensed life because I did that for about 1.5 years too. But I keep my license.
Ruthie, girl, you got your hands.
Yeah,
but you got to, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I absolutely get it. Like you absolutely have to. So in kind of turning like the corner. So, I know you've got one son, but I know that
Just one
you
son.
are concerned about your other family members and them being able to experience and grow mentally so that they can and expand in terms of like financially and everything. You've already expressed that that's something that you want to take to HBCUs. But which model, solopreneurship or business ownership, do you think will better position you for a legacy of generational wealth? And
Oh,
if there is,
definitely business ownership. Yeah, definitely business ownership because that is something that can be passed down once your children are of age and a little more mature. Like now, I'm actually spending more time with Bryce explaining the different forms of businesses and sending him articles and links and things like at least my parents would send me cutout articles and send me or tell me to read this book or send me a book to read. So I'm
right?
doing some of that now because although they learn more than we learn in college these days, they still need, a hand to hold while they're growing in their maturity. And they need to see the good and bad and ugly. And I've shared, and
Yeah.
he sat right here with me to look at it, to evaluate it, all. So just to be a part of that process versus making it a secret or be shameful or the whole nine.
Yeah. Yeah, you were mentioning like the exit strategy and being able to sell it or franchise, and that is definitely the benefit of the business ownership side of it. Whereas when you're a solopreneur, it's difficult to sell or transfer because you are the business. If something
Uh-huh.
happens to you, the business, kind of folds in that respect. So let's see. It's got me thinking over here. I had somebody was just getting started and they have this brilliant idea and that it's something that they can do and they can do it very well. They are amazing with their hands or with their mind, but they don't have any infrastructure because again, this is something that they're doing and they're just good at doing it. What advice would you give them just starting out and they're not sure? Do they want to be a solopreneur? Do they want to be a business owner? What advice would you give to a young person that was just getting started?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would focus on being a solopreneur first, especially if it's a product or a service that they're providing themselves or that they're going to either sell or distribute or market. I would do the solopreneur at least for 6 to 9 months, at least for what I call a tax year, and then start to make it legal by getting a business income tax forming an LLC, decide whether either S corp or corporation. Get some advice, meaning get a legitimate bookkeeper, a legitimate marketer, PR person. Yeah, that kind of thing. But I would also, before they even start, ask them up front: do you have 3 months of emergency money that you can cover all your living expenses? Forget about your extra stuff, but your living expenses. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
extremely important. We focus on the business aspect, but you can really only grow your business as well as your own personal finances grow. Once you get to a point, because for most people, they do start off as solopreneurs, and that's exactly where they start off with their own personal finances, using some of that money to do that. And it's really important that your personal credit is good so that you can get business credit, et cetera, et cetera. So you mentioned basically even as a solopreneur, you need to build your team. So what are some of the tools or resources that have helped you like to be able to grow? Because I know sometimes like in the construction business, so many different construction management resources and things that you can use to do that business. You need financial information segregated from the construction information, et cetera, et cetera. So what are some of the tools or resources, apps, softwares that you have used or that you plan to use in this expansion with this next business or with the
Well,
business?
so I use Outlook for my like emails and whatnot. So I separate and I put people in categories. So you can put different companies in different categories. So like I mean, in your case, like electricians or HVAC people or whatever. So I put people in like what work. Like I put marketing, healthcare, financial services, retail. So they have categories. They don't know, of course, in my phone. So I keep notes on people in my phone. So
Okay.
because I can't remember everything about everybody, so I actually kind of had to put notes or something in parentheses and remind me who they are. and I'll call and I follow up back with whatever they're working on. Like I call you every so often, like, hey, how did you buy that house yet? How's that going? So there's other people I call for. Did you ever get that t-shirt business off the ground? Did you order the new screens? Because the people doing screens and doing t-shirts. So to keep reaching out to people on an authentic basis versus like a non-authentic, or always calling people when you need something.
Yes.
So I like to call people when I don't need anything and ask them what they need. Maybe I can help them with that, because I still believe in things come back to you that you give people.
100%.
So I figure if I give to them, eventually at some point they'll give to me or give to somebody else. It doesn't have to be me, but somebody else. I like to like pay it forward. So I do a lot for different college students that I'm kind of close to, and they're like, "Oh, let me pay you back. Don't worry about it. You help somebody else. Like today they help somebody else. You'll get more out of that than just paying me back for the $20 I gave you to borrow for gas or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. So you're recognizing though in that the relationships that you have built really are the resources that you use to expand your business, because being a consultant, you're in a people business, and you got to be able to touch people. So you basically have sown seeds that are going to come up in your future, in dealing with them. That's good stuff. That's absolutely good stuff.
I do use some of the like translation apps. Well, not translation, but dictation apps. So where it would scribe for you or take notes for you or summarize for you, that kind of thing. So I use this called Scribe.
Yes.
Of course, I got OneNote. I do keep a lot of voice notes as well. I work with some people like my hairdresser. She has a wonderful app that she actually started with the people who built it.
Oh, wow.
And that app is, schedule things and the menu and how it looks. And so anything that kind of gives you simplicity to scheduling people, be it your time or for your own life, I use it. Calendars, I schedule everything. I write my doctor's appointment down in my calendar. I put reminders. Because like I said, I can't remember everything, but I know when an alert pops up to tell me, okay, Dr. Doc, and I make sure it's like 2 days in advance or a week in advance, or I do two of them. So I could put one for a week in advance, enough for 2 days in advance. So I kind of understand what I got going on for that day or that calendar.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, if it's not on my calendar, I don't have, I'm don't depend on me at 53 to remember that, because I'm not. I don't even know what I had for dinner last night. I would be honest with you.
So I do like Salesforce too, because one, I did some project with Salesforce. So Salesforce has a very friendly app too for small businesses and major businesses. So I like Salesforce a lot.
So what exactly kind of is it
I feel like a contact manager, but you also keep up with your sales, like what products the people have. You can keep up with other information about that client. It's all on kind of one screen. They have a good kind of mobile app as well too. So Salesforce, yeah. And I partner with a couple of companies where they do Etsy for like their crafts, sell things on Etsy. So I've seen that platform, so I like that. That's pretty neat. I'm actually getting to know a little bit more about Amazon platform, because you can actually do more with Amazon than just buy ourselves. You can actually set up your own stores on Amazon. So I want to research that. Not that I don't have anything to sell, but if I find somebody that has a product and they want a partner to invest, then I'm willing to kind of add that part, invest, kind of get my payments over time. I'm all about now creating passive income for myself. For one, it minimizes the tax impact to your kind of tax liability. You keep more of your money if it's passive versus kind of W-2. So I'm really looking for ways to have more passive income in my life.
Absolutely. So we've kind of come back full circle now, back to, in my mind, like so you've done the business system, you've done solopreneur, now you're solopreneur, and you're preparing to scale with your consulting business. Are you also looking to scale in your real estate business at the same time?
Yeah, real estate kind of hard. They want too much money, and it's kind of risky, and you just never know about the houses. So I'm getting more comfortable. But like I said, you got to take risks, and you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So I mean, I partnered with you for like two of the houses, so that was good. The first house wasn't, but you weren't a part of it. I tried to get you, but you were doing something else.
I was being held down by the man, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, I still think like real estate is the best investment, the best returns in life. It's better than the stock market. It's better than selling products. It's better than even being a consultant, because it continues to pay you forward. It continues to pay you forward, and you can actually pass it down. You can
Yeah.
pass it down. They can sell it or keep renting them or whatever. My goal is to actually get an apartment. So I want to either buy an apartment that I can renovate and fix and have like 6 to 8 units. Even keep a unit for myself, if I want to go to the apartment and hang out or whatever. But yeah, I want to really get into like multifamily real estate. Yeah,
That's one of the things that we do here. We're not just here with one another, just, kind of like buddying around. Like at some point in time, as people are establishing themselves and building their financial foundations, one of the goals that Terry and I have is that we'll be able to invest together and to do projects and things like that together because that's what other communities do. You know what I'm saying? That's what other communities do. And that is how they amass the kind of wealth that they have been able to amass over time. Even some of the people that have been the most recently coming to the United States have figured out what the golden ticket is, and they are doing the things that need to be done. And so that's one of the things that we're looking forward to as people start actually really getting their foundations and getting their footings under themselves with regard to their business. Then we will start introducing opportunities. So hopefully maybe there might be something in the near future that you might be interested in. So I'm just going to ask you, first of all, I'm going to ask, is there anybody in the chat? If you're still in the chat, drop a 7.
No, I think it's somebody that gone. No, 7. No.
No. Nope. All right, Miss Doris. See, Miss Doris, y'all, let me tell y'all something about Miss Doris. Miss Doris, be on it. She is faithful to do. Thank you, Miss Doris, for hanging out with us this evening and for staying in there with us. I know tonight's format was a little different, the conversation and the way that we talked about it, because we just had so many experiences on both sides, and so she was able to really delve really heavily into her experience with Mathnasium, which interestingly enough, because I too am a math person being an engineer. Thank you, Ms. Doris. That was actually something that someone had said to me, why don't you consider opening a Kumon? And then I started working on a brand called Smarty Pants Academy. I went and got the logo and all of the stuff, and it was basically going to be somewhat like that. But I was interested in using more music and things like that to teach music. But it just became a lot because I had to build an infrastructure that it would have, like you already said, it would have been so much easier to just jump in and use what was already available. But I was like, no, I don't know. I'm talking all the negative Nancy talking myself out of stuff. So I ended up kind of like not doing that, and I enjoyed teaching as well. I don't know if you know that I was a licensed high school teacher. I taught high school math here in Greensboro for maybe about 4 years. Taught middle and high school.
I didn't know that.
Earlier. But when you were as a solopreneur, tell me one thing that you wish that you outsourced sooner. Like one thing that you were doing and you're just like, I should have just handed this over to somebody else well before now.
The tax. I didn't do a good job at tax preparation versus tax planning. Like I didn't plan well. So the preparation was always like a gotcha at the end of the either quarter or month, because some taxes are due every quarter, others are due, once a year. So I didn't do a good job at planning, because I could have planned better to then have a less of a tax liability, and I didn't.
Okay. Yeah. I could definitely get that. Pam Harrigan, Young, and I talked about that last week, the importance of having somebody that can kind of help you lay your path out in your business so that you don't get the big shock at the end of the year. What are some of the things that you can do that really help you take advantage of the tax code as a business owner? Because even though we were saying that people in the E quadrant really don't stand a chance, right? They're just their employers, their employees, and they're just going to get taxed to high heaven. But the benefits that the business and the investors have is different. But even in that, there are levels to that. And people who have planners have a tendency to do even better than that. All right. What's one tool that you just can't live without? Like a back scratcher, a drill, what?
Oh no.
You don't know.
Mascara.
Your mascara. That's funny. That's funny. Your mascara. Okay. So you don't necessarily have like a tool or a trick or something that's a part of your trade that just like.
Well, I have a bunch of alarms. I got a bunch of alarms. So I got a bunch of alarms. I got an alarm for when I'm supposed to wake up, alarm for when I go supposed to eat, because I forget to eat sometimes. So I have alarms. I have a whole page full of alarms on my phone. I
Okay.
deleted some of them last week, but I need to put them all back. Yeah,
Do you have
alarms,
tells you to drink water?
calendars, alarms, calendars, anything to manage my time. So I like to like plan my time. Like I don't spend much time watching TV, but when I do, it's like when I'm really tired, I'm like I can't think to read or whatever. I just watch TV for like 2 hours. But I try to do as little as I can to not watch a lot of TV so I could just read and study. I do a lot of searching online. I finally got Gemini AI, so I talk to AI a lot, see what comes back with, like what are the best business models for the day, what are the top 20 like most frequently the most profitable business for entrepreneur or that. I mean, I just kind of just keep sending it stuff, then I search. Yeah, so that's what I do.
Okay.
Calendar, searching.
Calendar. You have one of those things that tell you to drink water.
Do what?
You have one of those alarms to tell you to drink water.
Yeah,
You do.
I do.
All right. So you were talking about reading books. What book or podcast has changed the game for you? Like what one book or podcast have you read or listened to that like caused such a disruptive shift for you in the way you
Actually, I read like pieces and parts of a lot of different books. There's very few books I've kind of read all the way through, but one the most was Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's an old series, but that was one of the first books that my father kind of gave me. It was books and tapes, and it was a lot of So I used to like play it in the car when I'm driving and listen to it when I'm because I used to live in Louisville, Kentucky, and drove like 6 hours to get back home. So I would listen to that stuff and just reflect on really what I wanted from my life. I would always have like I needed something to always look forward to. Like I can't just do the same thing every day. I gotta like have something to look forward to, something I'm striving for. Even with the money, I want like everything to have a purpose. Like this money is for X, this money is for Y, this money's for something. So that I have a reason why I'm doing something versus just randomly doing a little bit of everything. Like even right now, I'm working on a program with Johnson C. Smith to provide a career services kind of augmentation of what they do with their students. I love what A&T did with us when we was at school. They had the career center. We had our deans and our professors that really were bringing people in from the community to really show us and tell us. They don't do that at Johnson C. Smith. So I'm working with another, Cynthia Parker, to actually build something that works for Johnson C. Smith students. We're going to start with a pilot. I believe in pilots a lot, like 20 students, and really give them some hands-on one-on-one and partner them with people that can actually help them along the path from sophomore through senior year. So we focus on sophomores. So that's where I spend my time now, like looking at different career assessments. I read this. It's a parachute book. It's an old one, but they kind of redid it. Like what color is your parachute? I love that too. So you can find out kind of where you are, because people just don't stay the same all their life. You have different interests, you have different influences. So I embrace that change a lot. I embrace the change.
Yeah, that's good. I think that for myself, I had to learn to embrace it too, because the person that I was at 20 is just definitely not the person that I am now, and the things that I needed back then are not the things that I need right now. You just have to embrace the change so that you can get to whatever your goal and your destiny is, because if you stay the same, you're absolutely never going to get there. In this pilot with Johnson C. Smith, though, because now you've kind of piqued my interest, are you going to have a finance module in there?
Yeah, we will.
You don't have a finance module. Just so you know that the FRST program, the Office of Student Success, is launching finance module for freshman study courses.
Okay.
We have not fully acknowledged this, but it was written by this year's freshman class and the freshman class president.
Yeah, I got to get to know that. That's good. That's good. That's another thing about students in particular. Like some students, they don't even get active on campus. So they continually go home all the time. I'm like, why? Stay where you are. Stay engulfed where you are. Get active on where you are. Find some friends you didn't go to high school with. I mean, I purposely made sure. I used to ignore my high school friends that went to A&T with me until my friends that were new decided they got to know them. They're like, "Oh, Rita, you went to school?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't want."
Right.
Talking to new people.
Right.
They're new people.
Yeah. That's hard, because that's hard in Greensboro, though, because if you went to Dudley is just a straight path across the street. Yeah.
Exactly.
It can't be. So, Miss Doris, you're asking, have you read Profit First? Any thoughts on that? Miss Doris, that's our book for the next month. I think. Wait a minute, what month are we in as well? So we're excited about that. So on Thursday, you all know we're going to have question and Q&A, and we're going to be getting together to discuss the book that we are reading about becoming your own bank.
Okay.
And so that is the book that we are reading this month, and I'm very excited about that. I've been excited about us doing that book, Mo and I both, because Mo was also pre-reading. She was pre-reading. It is the book. It's a book about ultimate banking, called Becoming Your Own. Because I just bought it. So Mike Michalowicz is the author of Profit First.
Profit First.
And that is absolutely wonderful. Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. I downloaded it. It's about 4 hours on Audible. That's one of the things that I love about this, because it's just so many different interests and businesses here that provide value. And so we're all, real estate minds, construction minds, financial minds, this mindset work that goes on here, and it's all for the good of our community, because nobody's taking care of us but us. So I'm thinking, guys, that's going to wrap us up for tonight. We want to thank Aretha for being here. Thank you all for your input in the chat. Thank you all for showing up for yourselves every week to get 1% better. My coach LaShawn says friends don't let friends stay broke. And so this is the place where you can do that. Tell your friends it's $77 a month now, but tell them to come and join us. You are so welcome, Miss Doris. I just love Miss Doris and Mo. Hey, Mo. And Terry. Hey, Terry. But yes, Aretha, thank you so much. And hopefully after you get expanded, then we can bring you back and you can share some more about your next venture with this business, because I'm excited about that for you. The whole thought process behind that is amazing to me. So, all right, you guys, that's all I got for you. I'm gonna jump off now and talk to y'all later. Have a good night. See y'all on Thursday.
Yo, we could have talked for days, but because we want you to join us next Tuesday for another episode of Terry Talks, that's it for today. Talk soon.